This is Community Unity Now, the Detain Show. This is Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Our very special guest is Bob Fioretti. He is running for Cook County State's Attorney. Welcome, Bob.
Good to be here. Thank you both.
So good to have you here today.
Definitely.
So in 2022, you switched over from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. Why did you do that?
Well, I think the Democratic Party, and not that I think, I know, it left me. It left a lot of people. It no longer represents, I say, family values, fiscal responsibility, personal responsibility, the things that I grew up on and with, and it changed directions radically. And so I became a Republican, and I am running for state's attorney as a Republican.
Mm-hmm. So they did change direction, the Democrats. What direction did they change? I know that you're saying that they don't represent the family values. Then, if they don't represent family values, what kind of values are they representing?
Well, I'm not sure what they represent anymore. I see the chaos in the city council. I see very programs that are, rather than help people, rather than educate people, rather than make sure that they get good jobs, good education, or the ability to have good jobs and good education, I see them not doing that. And it becomes a problem for all of society. And, we see it in the workforce out there. I'm running for state's attorney because I see the Democratic Party really has three principles or views towards criminal justice. First and foremost, they view the criminal defendant as the good guy. The police are the bad guys, and the victims to them don't matter. So we have to change that around. We need to, I want to restore the rule of law and restore the mission of the state's attorney, which is restoring the rule of law, supporting our victims, and breaking this cycle of crime and corruption that we see so prevalent here, especially in Cook County. I mean, Chicago last year was named I think, fourth year in a row as the most corrupt city. And what day doesn't go by when you open up the newspaper and you see something about who's indicted, who's on trial, who's doing this, and they're all public officials. Mm-hmm. So we have to break that. People run for public office not for, how should I say, they should be running for the public, not for their personal pocketbooks.
Public servants versus politicians.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You hit it right on the head.
Working for the people, not for personal profits.
Mm-hmm.
And so public safety.
I do want to ask another question, though.
Go ahead.
What do the victims tell you? Do you speak with the victims, and what do they say to you?
Well, I have spoken since I started this campaign. I hear them all the time. They do say they feel neglected by the state's attorney's office. The problem, I want to cure those 3 points that I said. How do you cure them? We prosecute the way the law was written. We support our victims. We work with them. And we support our police. We work with law enforcement, not against it. And I want to restore professionalism in that office. So many people have left, and the reason they've left is they don't want to be a public defender in the courtroom. They want to prosecute crimes. I look at the whole aspect of our criminal justice system where we have the two sides and a judge and a jury, that we have hard-charging, ethical state's attorneys who are faced with public defenders who represent the individual defendants who are hard-charging, ethical, and at the same time very creative in their defense. and they present things in front of this neutral judge, and that judge makes calls balls and strikes, and then from there, if things can't be resolved, they go to a jury of the peers to determine guilt or innocence. And, we need that. And we need that presumption of innocence in all the state's attorneys so they understand it fully.
So right now, there is that presumption of innocence, or is it there's too much of presumption of innocence? What's wrong with the equation?
Well, sometimes we are sometimes named as the wrongful conviction of cities and counties in the whole nation. We have more than any other one. And so something has gone wrong with our system. It costs the city of Chicago, it costs the county millions, if not billions of dollars to imprison people wrongfully. So we have to be very careful on the evidence we have, how we look at it, and what we do.
Are you familiar with how the evidence is being presented now? And if you were the Cook County State's Attorney, how would you change that whatever evidence procedure is wrong right now?
Well, a lot of it is training. Our lawyers go to law school. They're there for 3 years. They take certain courses, and they examine. In the state's attorney's office, we take an oath of office. We have to abide by the Constitution of the state, of the country, of our state. We have to look at the statutes that somebody may be indicted on, and at the same time, we have to look at what the case law that has interpreted those statutes and how we pursue a case in court. And because taking away somebody's liberty is extraordinary. We have to be very careful, and we have to make sure that we have the right evidence to introduce into the court for that person.
Well, it sounds like, earlier you said that right now the current Cook County State's Attorney presumes, and the Democratic Party assumes that the indicted are the good guys, but you're still, from what I hear you saying, you still want things to be fair. You want the indicted to be treated right.
Absolutely, and they have to. See, if we do something on a case and we face somebody that's been wrongfully convicted, and don't forget, I have helped those that have been wrongfully convicted in the past. But the payouts are enormous, and they just don't happen in other cities and other counties the way it's happening here. I think under Kim Foxx's watch, almost 250 people have been released from jail because they were wrongfully convicted, and each one of those ensues. And it's maybe not $1 million, but just recently there was somebody in for 10 years, and he obtained a judgment of $50 million. Mm-hmm. So we have to be careful on what we do, because taking away somebody's liberty is the highest form of what government can do to an individual.
So what you're saying is that the office is being run incorrectly now.
I see it that how we work, what we need to do, all goes hand in hand. I think there's always room for improvement, and who is in that office should be imposing the highest ethical standards on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, your experience as alderman. What did you learn from that over all of those years, and the whole system there that's going to help you with this position?
Well, first of all, I introduced more ordinances than probably many of the aldermen have done in their 3 or 4 years. I've been very lucky. Everything generally is passed. I mean, we're talking sometimes 30, 40, 50 ordinances. And under the process, it takes 1 or 2 meetings before we can vote on them. Because they have to go to a committee, looked at, then moved on back to the city council. So, but I learned how on some of the items which all affect public safety, that we need to put together coalitions. And sometimes the coalitions were just not the aldermen from the various wards. Coalitions, and I learned that when of coalitions of pastors, parents, guardians, community people, and faith-based communities. I've done that when I pushed through the not-for-profits to make sure that they had free water. I did that with, I'm trying to think of some of the items, but there were so many. I had a police reform bill that reformed things that took a while, over 2 years, but I had a 49-1 vote on that. So it takes a while sometimes to build coalitions and what we need to do, and I learned from that experience on how you get legislation, how you put it through. And I have more experience than the other individual because I've worked with how to do things on a federal level, state level, county, and here in the city.
And when you're doing these ordinances, when you did these ordinances, and they passed, and you had the record of ordinances, how many of these came from people, saying that there's an issue with this, could you help us with this?
Many. And I don't want to discount it and say, like I said, sometimes 50, 60, 70. A lot of them became because people raised issues. And I'd go out, I'd look at the area, and then introduce an ordinance or so to affect that. And that was always a concern. So, yes.
You also mentioned that you want to make some changes to the safety bill. Could you talk about that?
Well, I've always said from day one that we need to have, judges need to have more discretion. And that more discretion, especially on some of the items that are not covered where there is no detention, such as a battery upon a police officer, a battery upon a senior citizen, owning an illegal machine gun here in the city. The judge ought to look at the person's background. Are they a flight risk? The seriousness of the crime. Would they be harmed, or would they harm the victim? Would they harm the communities? Those are factors, and the rap sheet, the long-term, the judge should balance that. And the top two are types of crimes that I think we need to give more discretion to the judge.
So right now, what discretion does the judge have in cases involving battery to a senior citizen and battery to a police officer?
There's no detention on it, and the judge has to allow them to be released.
No detention if the defendant has committed battery against a senior citizen or a police officer?
Right. Yes.
Anything else that's similar to that? That's pretty major. That seems to be a major crime. It's a senior is defenseless. A police officer, that's like almost like creating a riot. So
when you attack a police officer, you're attacking society and attacking all of us. So those kind of crimes must be looked at and see what we should do.
Especially the seniors. That's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
If they just get right back out,
yes,
they can do it again.
Mm-hmm.
They can become an instant repeat offender, possibly.
And you just said something, probably we should look at burglary too. It's unfortunate the way the system is put together, but burglary is, we see more often than not, a repeat habitual crime by an individual. and they don't commit one burglary, they commit a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth. I've heard of cases over 30 burglaries by one individual. So those are something that we need to look at too.
And so, in other words, if a person commits a burglary, no matter, let's say they commit 100 burglaries, they're still allowed to go free without any discretion by the judge.
Right.
I was assaulted by somebody with a knife on Morse Avenue, just out front of the pizza place on Morse Avenue. And I called my friends. I hid in the pizza place. He was waiting for me outside. I called my friends first. Then I called 911. Everybody came around. This guy was surrounded. And the police told me something that I thought was strange at the time. Well, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want us to do? Mm-hmm. Because if we take him in, he's just going to be out in an hour. And why would the police tell me that?
You know, I've heard stories similar to what you just said. Well, what do you want to do? Years ago, there was an alderman up in, I think it was 45 or 46, who was being harassed similar by a woman on the street. Not once, but it was always in the papers. And he never wanted to arrest her. I said to him, Jim, you got to have that woman arrested. We have to get her in the court system. We have diversionary courts, mental health court, which, as in maybe that person could qualify for social help by bringing him or her into the court system. And we have a mental health court, veterans court, women's court, drug court, gun court, all for to help individuals. And if they satisfy the criteria, it's off the record. Sometimes we help find them jobs as they go into these systems, and that's what we should be doing.
So getting them the help that they need through this
Through
system.
the court system. And for the police officers not to say something like that, they were remiss in informing. And maybe they didn't know of our diversionary courts.
And I hear about that because I'm in the 24th Police District, and I hear our constituents say the same story all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm certain it's not only in the 24th District. I'm certain it's a system-wide Chicago police thing.
Yes, absolutely. Because just like you said that, I've heard it other cases and other instances.
So when the police asked Bill that question, what should Bill have responded?
Depends how he was feeling that day, but I would have said lock him or her up and get that person through the court system.
And that's what I did.
Okay.
That is what I did. I didn't feel safe at all. And if everyone left and he was still on the street, and I walked out of the main pizza place on Morse Avenue and he was still there, that would have been an issue.
Right.
He needed to be removed from this situation, and I needed to be able to go home safely.
Yes.
So I had to do that.
And so does everybody else. You know, he it sounds like he could have been a threat to the general public. So, yes.
You spoke that you have experience at the federal level, at various different levels, so that you could have more experience to implement a better Cook County State's Attorney's Office. Could you talk a little bit about all your experience at those different levels?
I have been, especially on behalf of the city of Chicago, I've been in D.C. helping our Park District and as a citizen lobbyist on the state. One of the first acts that I ever helped introduce was to give our public universities, a public university, the University of Illinois, a seat on the Board of Trustees of a student. It failed when we were down there, but it became law sometime shortly thereafter, And then after that, all of the universities, all their boards, Board of Trustees, Board of Regents, have a student trustee on each and every one of them. Sometimes it takes a little while, but a change always happens.
It was the catalyst that
Well, I was very fortunate enough to have won the election to be a student trustee at the Northeastern Illinois University, and I took my job very seriously. I wanted to make sure that the decisions that I voted on, my vote was correct, and I did my research. It was very hard to read everything, but I did not read everything, but I tried to, and I asked questions, and then that's actually what started me in interviews, because I really wanted to get down to the point and get to the issues.
Well, see what happened with that, what we did with the brainchild of some of us down at U of I, and it went all the way around. So yes, I'm glad, because, and I do see on whether you're at a board of trustees or the regents or whatever, that the student trustees are very engaged in what they are doing and how to represent the student body.
and what a great opportunity for a student.
Yes, absolutely.
Put it on the resume, have it as a life experience, a life-changing experience,
Yes, it is.
just like Trudy.
Yeah.
So on your first day, if you win the election, what would your goal be on the first day?
Where would I go be? Well, I think I'm going to be in multi areas. So we're going to have to split me up to see all the police departments and to see all the courtrooms that we have throughout this county. We have several of them, and meet with the state's attorneys, meet with the police. And let's not forget, we have about, I think, 150 police departments. The city of Chicago is not the only police department. So there are a lot out there, and we need to make sure that they're not neglected in terms of what happens.
So not only would you be meeting them, do they ever meet each other and then talk with each other, these different groups like the courts and the police? Do they have meetings, and would such meetings help?
I think anytime first of all, you have some type of conversation is always helpful. And that some of them, they have the West Suburban Chiefs, the South Suburban Chiefs, the North Suburban Chiefs. There are plenty of them in terms of how they interact. But we have so many different other federal units, too, that are controlling, that are impacting on these groups and how we have to interact. And don't forget, we have the county police department, too, which is huge. So all that comes together in one way, and how we work together.
So the Cook County State's Attorney handles the cases that go through the Cook County courts?
Yes. But you see, the state's attorney just isn't an office that deals with the criminal conduct of individuals or how to effectuate justice and how we represent the victims. It also has a civil division that deals with a lot of the tort cases on all the entities. We have a property tax division, and that affects, as all these appeals come through the system, we try to get that together and look at some of the stuff. So it's a far-ranging office on what they can do.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be quite a big task to go through all of that.
Being running for office, I should say, is a lot of fun. But the hard work begins, and it's 24 hours a day for me. But the hard work begins when we're elected, and that's a 24-hour a day job. We have 700 plus attorneys. We have 1,300 support staff. We need to get them all on the same page on what needs to be done and how we work together for the benefit of the citizens of this county.
Bob Fioretti, if our viewers want to learn more about you, where should they go?
Well, I'm surprised that you said that. They can come to Fioretti for Cook, and that's where they go. FIORETTIFORCOOK.com. And they can see our plans, our programs, and we have an office at 521 West North Avenue.
And are they able to contact you to maybe even meet you and voice their concerns? Because you brought up a lot of concerns that affect a lot of people.
Well, we are at the office, and they can call the office number, which I don't have, and I'm accessible because I think a state's attorney must be accessible to the citizens all the time to build the type of collaboration that we need with everybody in this county.
Thank you so much, Bob. This has been Community Unity Now, the D. Tycoon Show. Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and I am Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much, Bob Fioretti, who is running for Cook County State's Attorney, for joining us on the Community Unity Now. Thank you for joining us on Community Unity Now, and we will see you again next week.